Let's take a look at comparing fractions. So, reading what it says on top, if two fractions have the same denominator, it's pretty simple. You can simply compare their numerators. If two fractions have different denominators, we want to rewrite them with a common denominator and then compare their numerators. Let's take a look at this example. Cookie recipe A requires 3/4 of a cup of sugar, whereas cookie recipe B requires 2/3 of a cup of sugar. Which recipe requires more sugar? So we have 3/4, and we need to figure out how to compare that to 2/3. We don't know if that's going to be greater than or less than, so we are just going to leave a little blank in there. So let's start evaluating this. If we have 4 and 3 in the denominator, what is a common denominator that we can make them have? So we have 4, which is 2 times 2, and a 3. So whatever is in the denominator for both of these has to have 2 times 2 times 3. 2 times 2 times 3 is 12. So our lowest common denominator, call it LCD, this is going to be helpful as we move on to the next subsection too. This reduces down to 2 times 2. 3 is simply 3. Has to include 2 2's and 1 3. LCD, lowest common denominator, is going to be 2 times 2 times 3, which is 12. So we have to figure out how to make these fractions both have the denominator of 12. So in order to make 3/4 have the denominator of 12, we have to multiply the denominator times 3. But 3/12 isn't the same thing as 3/4. So in order to get the same number with a different denominator, we have to also multiply the top times 3. So when we have the top as 3 and the bottom as 3 and multiply it by 3/4, it's essentially the same thing as multiplying it by 1. But this is just going to make it easier to actually compare these two numbers. Let's look at the other side. How do we make the bottom into 12? What do we have to multiply the bottom by to make it 12, or our lowest common denominator? 3 times 4 is 12, so we're going to multiply the bottom by 4. If we multiply the bottom by 4, we also have to multiply the top by 4, because it's going to be essentially multiplying it by 1 in order to change the denominator. So that is going to yield us 3 times 3 is 9 on top. 3 times 4 is 12 on the bottom. Still don't know which one's greater or less than yet, so we'll leave a blank there. 2 times 4 is 8 on top. 3 times 4 is 12 on the bottom. So we can see now that they have the same denominator, we can simply compare their numerators. 9 is greater than 8. Therefore, 3/4 is greater than 2/3. Let's move on. Looking at adding and subtracting fractions. When we add and subtract fractions, we have to make sure that the denominator is the same. So Jack ate 3/8 of a pizza. Mac ate 1/8 of a pizza. What fraction of the pizza did they eat together? So Jack ate 3/8. Mac ate 1/8. Well, this one is pretty nice for us because the numerator or the denominators are the same. So we can simply add the numerators. 3 plus 1 is going to be 4/8. And that's going to reduce down. Both top and bottom are divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So they ate half of the pizza together. Let's look at the next one. Tracy ate 5/6 of a pizza. Stacy ate 1/6 of the pizza. How much more of the pizza did Tracy eat? So this time we have to figure out what the difference between these two are. So we're going to take 5/6 and subtract 1/6. Again, this is a really nice example because the denominators are the same. We can simply subtract the numerators. We get 5 minus 1 is 4 over 6. Top is divisible by 2, bottom is divisible by 2, and we get 2/3. So Tracy ate 2/3 more pizza than Stacy. Now let's take a look at adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. A 3/8 inch thick sheet of plywood is going to be laid into a 1/4 inch thick sheet of plywood. What is the combined thickness of the two sheets? So this time we're putting this 3/8 on top of a 1/4, so we're going to add them. Now we have different denominators. We have to figure out what the lowest common denominator is. So 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. 4 is 2 times 2. So we need 2 2's, but we also need 3 2's. So if we did our lowest common denominator, 2 times 2 times 2, it has 2 2's, it has 3 2's. So our lowest common denominator is going to be 8. Some people like to simply multiply the denominators together to get a common denominator. I find it easier to find the lowest common denominator because you'll be dealing with a lot smaller numbers. So if we multiplied these two together, we would get 32. So we would have numbers over 32. Figure out how to get 3 to be over 32 and 1 to be over 32. For me, it just gets too complicated. I like finding the lowest common denominator and then trying to figure out how to get each fraction to have that common denominator. So we have 3 over 8. That's already over 8. We don't have to do anything to it. 1/4. What do we have to multiply the bottom by to make this 4 and 8? We have to multiply it by 2. So if we multiply the bottom by 2, we also have to multiply the top by 2. Now we have a common denominator. We can simply add the numerators, and we get 5/8. What is the difference in the thickness of these two sheets of plywood? Well, we already converted, so now we can simply subtract. So 3/8 minus 1/4, which we figured out is 2/8, gives us 1/8 inch difference. Go ahead and try the student-led examples and see how you do.